What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burd Files podcast. Today, we are doing part two of the segment where I talk to seniors about their high school experience and dive into what they're doing in their lives right now and what they maybe see themselves doing a little bit further in the future. I'm here today with Makena Likewise, class of 2020. He is, as you can see, going to be attending Dartmouth University for his college education, a huge feat at that. I want to start off by saying congratulations, Makena, and to the rest of you in class of 2020. I mean, 4 years, you did all four at Fountain Valley, right?
Yep, I came here as a freshman.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
4 years at Fountain Valley, and to top that all off, getting the opportunity to be accepted into Dartmouth, huge accomplishment. And I just want to say congratulations, man. So the first question I have for you here is traditional graduation that you probably envisioned your entire life is not possible. So, growing up, thinking about graduation, walking across the stage, and maybe busting a dance move out in front of your peers and everybody watching, and that doesn't pan out. How does that affect you? What do you feel? Do you feel resentment towards that fact?
Yeah, I've definitely been asked that question a ton at this time in my life. Obviously, like everyone's like, "Oh my God, I feel so bad for you," even though there's obviously nothing that can do to change it. The first emotion that comes to mind for me is just lacking a sense of closure because, when you're 14 years old and then when you're 18 years old, you're definitely two very different people. Like, that's the difference between a kid just coming out of middle school and like almost an adult. And so it's just like you've grown up with these people, and at a boarding school like this, you're kind of raised by those people more so than your parents. And so just to have everything just like the wheels fall off at the end and not be able to say your proper goodbyes to people, that's the first thing that hits me really hard, just because like you form these really awesome friendships with people. But I would say the next emotion would probably be just like, I was reading about this one like psychology article where it's like the 4 steps of like coming back from something like really bad that happens in your life. And the first step is denial, and then you just go through the process. So that definitely happened for me. Like I was like, no, this isn't happening. Like I want to go to prom, like I want to go to a senior retreat at the mountain campus and stuff like that. But once you like come to grips with that, then I don't know, you just realize that you can't do anything about it. So you just want to move on. So at this point right now, I'm pretty much just putting it behind me. Like it really sucks. But obviously with all our modern technology, you can keep in contact with all your friends and keep those networks of communication going. So yeah, it really sucks, but you can't do anything about it. So you just got to move on and maintain those connections as best you can.
Do you feel like that takes away any of the accomplishment of graduating, or the significance of maybe of your senior year?
It shouldn't. It definitely shouldn't. But for me, I don't know. There's this weird flavor to the end of senior year where it's like, you can tune in or not tune in to graduation, and then like it's over and life moves on. But yeah, so there's that kind of just flavor of disappointment. But for me, there's also the fact that I feel like for every high school senior graduating, regardless of whether it's online or not, there's this weird sense of like a kind of imaginary barrier between being a kid and an adult, where you're like, wow, like the past, like all I can remember of my life has just been in school with my friends and classmates, and now it's just gone, and like I'm moving forward. So that feeling of separation also, I feel like was magnified by the pandemic because like we couldn't actually be there to close it out.
Yeah. So kind of like moving into, down the line. So are you going straight into college, right? No gap year. So you're going to be attending Dartmouth this fall. And you'll be staying in the dorms, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're a day student, or you were a day student at Fountain Valley, right? And so, transitioning into, college, you're gonna be boarding. And so, do you think you'd be prepared, being away from your family, being away from all the friends that, the relationships you've built in Colorado, and then going, to Dartmouth and having to kind of restart everything in a dorm? I mean, do you think you're prepared for that distance?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never really done that in my life because obviously I was a day student and I've just gone to school. Like I used to live in two different places. I used to live in Massachusetts and Hawaii, but I always went to a school that was like, I don't know, like 30 minutes away, or I guess FES is like 45 minutes away. So 45 minutes away max. So like, you come home, see your family every day. You're in your own bed. You have a lot of privacy. So I think that's going to be a huge adjustment for me. Like I can't even imagine the people at FES right now who are like 14 and like you're a boarder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that must be crazy being away from your parents, like in the high school age. I don't, like, I guess I would say it might be easier for me to go away now just because I feel a little more mature than I was when I was like 14. But I wouldn't say that I'm prepared because, like, obviously there's going to be a lot of emotions leaving my parents for the first time for like 4 years and you're off on your own. And also that's magnified by the fact that like now you're, I guess, an adult. So it's kind of like a coming of age thing where you're actually like leaving the house like for good kind of. But it's also definitely a time of a lot of excitement, like having all this freedom and being able to be in control of your life for the first time in your entire life in 18 years. That's really exciting for me. So like it's a mix of emotions. I'm going to be really sad, but I'm also going to be really jazzed to get to do what I want to do in my own way.
So this kind of brings me into my next question. Do you think your time in high school at Fountain Valley has prepared you for what's to come at Dartmouth?
Yeah, obviously I can only say this in anticipation because I guess, 4 months, I guess I'll find out. But I truly think that FES is excellent for preparing you academically, at least. I don't know about the other, like socially, like other aspects of your life, maybe athletically. It might not be the best you can get. But I think academically, it definitely prepares you for pretty much anything you want to do because at Fountain Valley, at any school, I would say there's these different tiers of people who like want to achieve different things. And so at any school, you can pretty much make what you want of it. That stupid cliche where it's like write your own histories. But at FES in particular, I think what I learned is that a big takeaway for me is that the work you put in like is directly proportional to like what you get out of it. And sometimes it might be like a ton of work just for a small reward, but at least there's this proportionality where you put in a lot of work and then you get something that's proportional to it. And so I think that's the biggest lesson I'm going to take away from Fountain Valley because I feel like that's kind of a natural law of life and everything else where there's a certain amount of work, but if you do the work, you get something out of it. And so it's really your entire life is just up to how much you want to put into it, and then you'll get out what you put in. And so in that aspect, I feel like Fountain Valley was definitely that's pretty much what it leaves me with. And so I feel like that's the core of just my self-concept now. And so if you just take that into everything else, like, like even if something seems really challenging and like, let's say you're going to a PhD program or something like that, where it's going to take like another 4 years on top of grad school to get a PhD, like it's really just work and then what you get out of it. So as long as you put in the work, you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. So that's like the big thing I think FES is going to leave me with.
So, going a little bit back in time here, right? You told me that you're going to be majoring in biology at Dartmouth. So biology, that's that's kind of like, I don't want to say off the board, but a lot of people I talk to go, into engineering or something like less. I feel like to go into sciences and biology, your mind has to just be wired a little bit differently because that's like a whole different thing. I mean, so where did you start to think biology, science is what I want to do?
Yeah, well, like I've always been this like super nerdy kid, so I guess that kind of like attracts me to just like I've always, it's really cliched, but like like been inquisitive, like asked questions, and obviously science is the tool to like solve those things. So science has always just been really interesting to me, even though it's kind of interesting because like I'm so bad at math. Like it's definitely not my forte. I'm a lot better at the humanities, but I don't know. There's just something about science that pulls me. And that also coupled with the fact that a few years, let's see, it was like 6 years ago. We were on a vacation, my family and I, over the summer in Massachusetts. And that was the first episode of when my mother got uveitis, which is inflammation of your uvea in your eye. Uh, and so all the doctors were like, they didn't know what was happening. And then after further research, they figured out that she had this weird genetic disorder on the HLA-B27 gene, which is pretty much triggers like full body-wide inflammation. And so there's like a lot of arthritis, inflammation in her heart, inflammation in her eyes. And so I think like when I realized that such like things that I was learning about in the classroom had like direct implications for me in my house and how my mom lives. Like now she lives, like she has to get a hip replacement. She's only like 53 because there's like super bad arthritis there because of autoimmune disorders and all the white blood cells like attacking her own cells. That kind of brought everything really close to home. And I was like, wow, like there's stuff I can learn in the classroom that's directly applicable to how I can help other people. And also there's a selfish, like personal instinct to like, you know, help like your family members and people you're close to. And so, yeah, I think those two things, just being inquisitive and something that happened that's close to home and you realize you can help other people with that, that kind of got me interested in biology.
Huh. So do you think that, like, do you think that your mom, you know, this, you said uveitis?
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the manifestations of the thing that's going.
So do you think that, you know, I mean, I think I already know the answer, but do you think that your mom, you know, having this uveitis and having them kind of tell her what it was, do you think that also just kind of like put extra wood in your fire to get more, you know, involved in the biology science world?
Yeah, 100%. Because like I said, like it's something that's super close to home. And your first instinct when something that happens is like to be mad, and then you want to figure out some way to fix it. And so that, like you said, adds a ton of wood to the fire. You're already interested in something, and then you're like, wow, like people are trying to fix this, and like I can be one of those people contributing to helping other people like that. So yeah, definitely.
What kind of drives you to go into that medicine field? Is that also related to, you know, that thing, the uveitis with your mom, or, you know, what pushes you towards medicine rather than just like, you know, biology in and of itself?
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, it's the same argument. Like you can just be a hardcore mathematician, or you can like send rockets into space and have a real life impact. So I kind of view that like through my own eyes. And I feel like, not that I have like an obligation to help other people, but just the fact that you can like make a difference in your world and your own life. And like when you die, like people are only going to remember you based on the footprint you left, right? So if you're interested in something, and then there's also a way to like use that to help other people and better humanity, because when you think about it, science isn't just the acquisition of knowledge. Science is the acquisition of knowledge for the purpose of like bettering and furthering humanity. And so that's kind of the philosophy I approached life with, like, what can you learn, and then how can you use that to help humanity and other people? And so with that as like one of my core beliefs, that's kind of what's driving me to go into the field. And also the fact that I'm just really interested in it in general. Yeah.
So, you know, you seem super like motivated, and you have that inspiration that'll push you. But, you know, going into medicine, I know that there's a grueling process of just many years of school and just extremely hard work, right? You know, right now in your current mindset, you think, you know, that you're completely ready to spend maybe, I mean, I don't know how many specifically years it is, but I think it's around like 8 to 12 years of extra school to be a doctor. Do you think in your state of mind now, you'd be ready to take that on, spend the next 8, 12 years of your life just studying and getting ready to be a doctor?
Yeah, I mean, for right now, it's like, holy crap, I have to press the reset button and start again at like preschool and go all the way to my graduation. But like for me, it's also kind of exciting. Like you get to be a student for a long time instead of just going out of college with your bachelor's degree and then like doing something to like make some money. And then I don't know, it just, if you're not really doing exactly what you want to do, I feel like what's the point, because you only have one life. And so being a student seems like really cool to me, just because you can learn like throughout your entire life. And I don't really see it as that much of a chore because it's something I want to do. And so if you're motivated to do something, like it's not a chore, it then becomes like a goal. So it seems daunting, but at the same time, like I said, with FES, like the thing I learned, like it's really just proportionality. Like the work you do, you will get the results. And so I think just approaching it with that mindset and just being in it for the long haul and also just staying motivated will definitely help me achieve my end goal. So like I don't really see it as that much of a chore, and I don't really see it as super daunting. I've read a lot of stuff about it and a bunch of articles about people who aspire to go to med school. And so I think that it'll definitely be a journey because other external factors come in your life anytime. Like the world throws you curveballs, but like I think it's definitely achievable. So especially if you just keep your eye on the end, like the light at the end of the tunnel, you can definitely get through.
Yeah. So me not being super in touch with like the world of medicine, like what would be your ideal profession once you know get to that end of the line and you're done with the school?
Uh, yeah, I don't like, I feel like there's definitely going to be a lot of different things that I learned throughout school where I'm like, wow, this field seems really cool. So I'm going to go into that. And then like a week later it changes. So right now, without like actual schooling on that stuff, I can't obviously say for complete certainty what I'm going to want to do. But at this point in time, I think what sounds really appealing is uh, opening like my own practice or a practice through a hospital where like you have that human piece and you can connect to people and actually like enact a change like in your community, but then also being part of like a research institution where you can help the further acquisition of knowledge to help other people. Because obviously in any field, especially the medical profession, there's the people who write articles and professors who do research at giant institutions. So they are the creators of knowledge, and then you have the practitioners who are the consumers of knowledge. But because I'm interested in both of those, I think it would be really cool to have that dual aspect where you can both create and like be a consumer of knowledge and help other people that way. And so in terms of fields, I would say like genetics, especially epigenetics, where you can like turn off and on genes, is really cool because we're just starting to learn about that and the implications it can have, because that means that everything that happens to your body is not just determined by your genes, but you can actually like change that. So there's all these disorders from like all the genetic disorders in the book to cancers that you can fix with epigenetics. And so I think that would have giant influences for the rest of human history. So that sounds like really cool for me right now. But obviously, we'll see where the wind takes me, I guess.
Look at it. But you know, we talked also a little bit earlier about you know, your minors. Obviously, you major in biology, but you know, you think you might like to minor in English or philosophy. So where does that come from?
Yeah, well, like I was saying, like all of science is pretty much just applied math when you just spin it down to the base parts of it. And math is definitely not my forte. And I know like everyone's trying to push the growth mindset thing where like your brain is plastic, right? So you can like rewire it and get better at stuff. But I'm just like not good at math. Like I'm just gonna say that. So the humanities like English and history have always been a lot easier for me, and I think I'm just naturally better at that. Whether it's through just like nature or just like my early years, what I was interested in, and just like excelled at. And so just because it comes easier to me, it has been also really interesting. And so like English, I don't know, it's kind of nerdy, but like I'm good at it and it's kind of interesting. So I'm like, yeah, like might as well throw it in as a minor. But philosophy is also, it's kind of like the study of the best way to live. And so I feel like everyone, you know, has to do their own personal um, takes, has to like create their own philosophy for themselves, whether it's like they're part of a religion or their political stance. All of that ties back to like base philosophical principles of how best to live your life. And so when you want to do something that helps other people, it's like, oh, like why do I want to do that? What's the basis for that? And so it all comes back to like a base worldview. And because philosophy is like the study of the base worldview, I think that it's like really interesting. You want to learn how to like live your life the best. I feel like it's a really powerful subject. English kind of ties into that because like you write a lot in philosophy, so and like I I feel pretty passionately about writing. I've always been like pretty decent at writing, so yeah, they're kind of just things like I'm interested in. I just want to throw them in because like why not?
I just kind of want to go back in time to when you're applying to these schools, right? Was Dartmouth like this reach school for you, or was this like somewhere you were like, you know what, I am confident with my ability. I think I'll get into Dartmouth. And where else did you apply to? Where did you think, what did you think was your range?
It was 100% a reach school. It was literally my Hail Mary of schools because I applied ED. So obviously, if you get in, you have to go there. But like our family isn't like super affluent, and so like I got a ton of financial aid from Dartmouth, which made me incredibly happy. So now I'm paying as much as like I'm a summer scholar at FES, or I was, I should say, and so I didn't pay as much like as the normal tuition, and I now only have to pay that for 4 years at Dartmouth. So it's like crazy, but yeah, it was definitely a reach school, 100%. I remember the day I went to open my admissions letter. It was, I think, November 1st of this year, last year, I guess. I went and kind of sulked off to like the hill on the right side of that little pathway that goes up to Graduation Hill between the center and stage. And I was like, wow, this is going to suck so badly. Like, I'm going to be so disappointed, but I just got to get over it. Like, I didn't want anyone around me. I was super depressed when I opened it. And then, like, I saw a bunch of people down, like, watching me, waiting for the thumbs up. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, guys, just go away. Like, there's nothing to see. And then I opened it. And, like, I spent, like, 5 minutes just looking for my name. Because I was, like, so freaked out that they're going to say, like, after careful consideration, we decided we can't offer you a place at Dartmouth College. And then my name was literally, like, the second word on the page. And I was like, wow, I'm an idiot. I should have read that at the beginning. But as soon as it said congratulations, I was like, holy crap, they messed up my name. Like, they got this admissions letter to the wrong person. So I definitely did not think Dartmouth, I was going to get into Dartmouth. It was my Hail Mary school, but I'm really happy I did, obviously, because now I feel like it's a better platform to do what I want to do. The other places I was applying to, yeah, because I applied ED, I didn't technically apply to other colleges. But I was planning on applying to, let's see if I remember here, Cornell, University of Pennsylvania, Johns Hopkins, CU Boulder, Colorado College. What was that place in Maine? Bates in Maine, and the Air Force Academy. I was actually going through all the Air Force Academy stuff. I just finished my interviews and a bunch of essays for them, and I finally got a congressional nomination a few days before I actually got the acceptance letter from Dartmouth. So, but like I really didn't want to go to any of those schools because through all of my research, Dartmouth seemed like an awesome fit. Like out of all the Ivies, which are definitely going to get you the research, like really cool research and internship opportunities you want if you want to go to med school, they all like Dartmouth was the most late. It's the smallest Ivy, and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire, right on the Connecticut River. People there call themselves the men and women of the North Woods because there's literally nothing around you but woods. But I kind of like that because they have like a ski hill, like a private ski hill 15 minutes away, which is like really sick. You can literally just ski on your off blocks. Everyone there is more laid back, the social situation. Like, although there's a lot of Greek life there, it's also like people are just more laid back and more collaborative.
Yeah, and I kind of want to like go more back in time and talk about what kind of stuff did you do to really I don't want to say pad your resume, but fill up your resume, right? Like volunteering. What did you do to stand out and make Dartmouth say this is our
guy? Yeah, well, obviously the basis for any solid application, as anyone in the world will tell you, is strong test scores and grades. And so junior year, I kind of hit my peak in terms of GPA. I filled up my courses with a bunch of APs and like I kind of excelled at them. And then I took the ACT like 3 times for the sole purpose of super scoring it because I suck at standardized tests. And then I also studied a bunch for like the SAT subject tests, which were also optional. But everyone else was doing it. So I was like, if I don't do this, I'm not going to get in. So a big chunk of my resume, my application was just like the baseline, like all the numbers you got to meet. just to be considered and not just thrown out of the pile immediately. On top of that, I think a lot of applicants who are applying to these schools don't have like they're not super well rounded. They kind of have like a spike in one thing they want to do, but they're not like overall well developed human beings in a lot of different aspects of their life. And FES, being a school that requires sports for 3 seasons, like definitely helps to well round you in that sense. And then also you learn a lot about yourself through those sports. And so like it feels weird, like I feel like I'm bragging, but I'll just say it about all of this stuff. Like my senior year, I was the captain of the mountain bike team, and I was also the only like varsity racer. And so when they see like you have all this stuff, and then you're also like a technically like varsity athlete, like they're like, oh, that's cool. Like this person excels and is passionate just about life in general. And then that also like I also had, let's see, I won a few awards in like boys swim conditioning, which is going to be, I guess, competitive this year. Thank God I'm out of that, by the way. Like that sucked. So I'm glad it doesn't have to be competitive with me on it. And then I was also the captain of ski team this year because I had been on the team for 3 years and I was a senior. And so having those leadership roles was definitely helpful because they want people, obviously, who are going to be leaders in the community. And they want people who are going to be, when they graduate, they want their name to be associated with people who are leaders in their field. So definitely the leadership aspect. And then community service. This summer between my freshman and sophomore year, I volunteered for the Children's Literacy Center in Colorado Springs because a big part of me has always wanted to help like children in particular. If I open a practice in like 15 years, I see myself definitely being oriented towards children just because I see them as like super vulnerable. And because if you mold children in the right way, I feel like it can have like a huge beneficial effect on society as a whole. So Children's Literacy Center, definitely, I know just being at FES and having all the opportunities that entails, I'm definitely have a ton of privilege. And so I feel like I just wanted to help other people get to a different level. And so they're not like underprivileged for the rest of their entire life, because obviously being able to read is like super huge for everything you do in your life. And then after that, for the next 3 summers, I shifted my focus to actual like medicine specific stuff. So Children's Hospital Colorado actually opened a wing near me like 6 months ago, I think, but I didn't get to volunteer there because it wasn't open at the time. So instead I had to drive down to Central Colorado Springs in Memorial Hospital Central in downtown and work through the Hospital Colorado that way because they had a wing down there. And so for 3, was it 3? Yeah, I guess it was 3 summers. I worked as a pediatric volunteer in the pediatric intensive care unit and just peds in general, where you don't actually do like a lot of medical stuff because obviously you're like untrained as a volunteer and like you would kill someone if you tried to like restart their heart or something. But you get to like just like interact with kids and bring sick kids who haven't seen their parents or like other people in a while. You get to bring them into playrooms and like kind of light up their day a little, because as a little kid, it must be super hard to like be going through stuff where you're in an ICU and locked away and you can't see anyone. So that's what I did for those 3 summers. And I think that had the biggest impact on my application as a whole, because I ended up writing my essay on that and experience I had in there. And so if you just connect the dots in that way, where you have an application with all the good marks that you need to just be considered for that school, and then you also have like leadership where you're community oriented and also like a leader among your peers, and then you have something really big that's like pulling you, that is driving you and motivating you, and you can write about that and really express that passionately. I think that's pretty much what took me to Dartmouth and would take anyone pretty much to any school they want to go.
That's huge. Like I knew you had a role. Like I knew you volunteered and worked with kids, but I didn't realize to the extent of which that went. And I think, I honestly, I didn't really know you at all. I didn't really interact with you very much at all this year at school, but just like hearing that's like a huge wow factor. And you're right. I mean, like if I'm a college, I don't know, admissions person reading that's huge. And to kind of just talk about that, well, like what I mean, how does working with these, sick children, kind of change your perspective on life? And was that also a huge factor in pushing yourself towards, the medicine field?
Yeah, I mean, like I went into that. I did that. I picked it up because I was really passionate about it. But just being there definitely just crystallized my view about like why I want to do this in the future. Because being there, you see these kids. As a kid in America, like right now, like being at FAS, you realize how great your like childhood has been, and all the stuff that's led up to this point in your life. And there's a lot of things associated with what a child should do and like what their childhood should be like. Like mine was really happy. Like I had a great childhood, but being like seeing kids who are like this with who are just robbed of those things, not because of something they did, but just like through nature. Like it's not their fault that they got like leukemia or something like that. Like you can't control that. And because they're kids and they've only been on the planet for like such a short time, that gives you such a different sense of perspective as to like, wow, just not even being where I am, but just being like alive and being able to like go hang out with my friends on like a Saturday afternoon or something like that is just like such a gift. And just like being alive in the United States in Colorado with all these opportunities is such a gift. And so that gives you, I think, just such a different sense of perspective on life. Obviously, there's the memes that are like, oh, first world problems. And then when you see people who are like that, it's not even first world problems. It's just like you're so gifted to just be able to live life as a normal person because there's so many people who at such a young age have this robbed from them. And that's something that's really driving me to go forward and want to take my passion for like a certain subject and just give back to people like that and help them and try to like rectify parts of them and give them back that sense of humanity and like the opportunity to have a normal life.
You talked about being the varsity captain of, or just like the captain of the mountain biking team, and did you say you were the only varsity member?
Yeah, because NICA, which is the National Something Cycling Association, they are the ones who actually decide, and the Colorado Cycling League through them decides who is actually placed in the different leagues. So it's not the coach's decision, it's like an actual organization's decision. So there's different categories. It goes freshman, sophomore, then JV, and then varsity. So I raced freshman, sophomore, JV, and then varsity my senior year.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, if they're just like doing the sport for fun or they're not like super serious athletes, then they don't get the varsity, which is fine. Like it's still fun, but
so could you be a senior and like on JV?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think JV is probably like half seniors and then like half juniors.
So it's like they have to see you perform and say this guy is good enough, this girl, these people are good enough to be on varsity. So that's a pretty big thing, no?
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. Just because varsity, I think you have to be in the top like 10% of your races, and it's like JV is a pretty big division, and so once you're in varsity, like the worst person is like the top 10 or like the top whatever 10% is of, let's see, there's like 215 riders in JV, so it's like top 20, I don't know, like two. And so you're racing against people like the people in the very back of the pack are going to be like really strong, and then the people in the front of the pack are like sponsors going to nationals and stuff like that. So I don't know. I thought it was cool to be racing with the big boys without the training wheels on, and I don't know, like just being able to put it all out there every race and kind of achieving that level was pretty cool for me, I guess, because I picked up mountain biking my sophomore year, so, or my freshman year, sorry.
Along with mountain biking, you talked about the ski team as well, and also swimming conditioning. So were you? I'm gonna start with swimming. Were you a part of the swim team, like competition, or was it just like conditioning class or whatever?
Yeah, well, it was actually, I guess it's going to go on next year. So I think for swim, CHASA has specific rules where the swim team has to be together for 3 years, at least as a minimum, before they can gain admittance to like an actual competitive league. So Miss Harrison was actually like the founding head coach, I believe. And so she wanted to start like a men's, because she's passionate about swimming. So she wanted to start a dude swimming team at FES. And so she was grooming us for actual competitive swimming. So like we do mock meets every I think it was like Friday, which absolutely sucked. Like you come out and your face is like, I need oxygen right now. Yeah, so I think next year, if someone picks up her role as the head coach, they're gonna take it competitive. But yeah, just by virtue of the Chassa rules, it wasn't competitive for the last 3 years.
And then the ski team. Were you guys competitive as well, or was that just kind of like a thing that you just kind of go up and mess around?
No, yeah, we just mess around. It's AMP, so it's the All Mountain program. So it definitely doesn't have like competitive ski racing in the name because it's not. Uh, you have to be, I think, like a moderate expert to expert skier, but like that's subjective. So pretty much anyone can join as long as you know how to ski. And we just go up there and mess around. You do whatever you want. You just, as long as you're with a buddy, you can go all over the mountain. So you don't race. And I thought that was just a lot more fun because racing, I feel like, do you do any snow sports like snowboarding, skiing?
I mean, in Texas, we don't get like I snowboard when I can. I'm not anywhere near expert level. I mean, like I go down a black diamond, I think I might die. So I mean, I have snowboarded before, but never in competition.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's definitely a different kind of person who likes ski racing at tracks, which like might not be the best. I don't know. Like pretty much, all ski racing is you just like slalom courses and as fast as you can go, unless you're doing big air jumps or something like that. But if you just have a recreational program, then it caters to all different types of people, like backcountry, people who like above alpine, alpine skiing, and all of that. So that's pretty much what we do. And I'm happy that it's actually not competitive.
Just to kind of like wind down here, I got a couple more questions. What is something that in your high school career you wish you would have done more of, or maybe just even tried throughout the entire 4 years that you never really got into?
Yeah, I have already answered for this actually. To this day I'm like haunted by the fact that I never actually tried rock climbing because my freshman year I was like, wow, the rock climbing team has like a really cool sense of culture and like it looks really fun. Everyone's really laid back. And so I really wanted to try rock climbing, but as a freshman, I was too scared to do it because I knew how to ski. And so I was like, I'll just stick with something I know how to do. And then sophomore year came around, like I got a bunch of new friends to join the ski team. So then obviously you don't want to ditch your friends. So you're like, crap, I gotta stay. And then by junior year, I was like, all right, like I could be captain next year. Like, should I really just like drop ski team? And then like this year, I obviously continued. And so honestly, I wish I just had the gonads to like try that my freshman year because like so what, like a bunch of people are new to that every year, obviously like no one has been rock climbing for all their life in middle school or anything because that's like a really rare thing. So yeah, I wish I tried rock climbing because it like sounds really fun and I thought I would have been like half decent at it, but whatever, I guess. Like I know how to ski, cool.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I know in during the commencement they already asked you what's your favorite moment, and you talked about it was you, Luke, and someone else. Not it was what Sam Volt was it?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah. So you guys were chilling and looking at the what like, was it a rock formation, right? You said that was one of your favorite moments. Just to like kind of add some parody, what do you think is your favorite experience in high school besides that moment?
uh God, I've had so many good experiences in high school. I've had a lot of bad ones, but I've also had a lot of good ones. um I don't like honestly, freshman stupid night out was really cool. Like that's something I still think about because it was obviously a new school because you're a freshman and being introduced to FES culture that way was really cool where there's people with like no one cares. Like people are up on the stage with like nipple tape on and stuff like that. Like it's just a fun time all around and no one really cares if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Like you all go to FES and you're having a good time. And I think FES, Stupid Night Out has definitely been one of my favorite traditions for a while, just because like it's at the beginning of the year, you need a morale boost, and then you can just like go stupid for a whole night, no one cares. So that Stupid Night Out as a whole, but particularly freshman year.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately, I haven't gotten to experience it yet. We had a conflict this year. Uh,
Oh, that's right. Hockey always misses it. That's such a bummer.
yeah, we had a conflict this year, but like just hearing about it, I am so praying that I get to go to it next year because it's just like all of the pictures that I see, the videos I see, it seems like just the greatest time. And it was also like it was sold to me when I came on my shadow, like they were like, yo, we got stupid night out. It's so fun. So I really want to experience it. And so, you that's a good experience for you. You also talked about bad experience. So what's one highlighted bad experience that you had to endure throughout your college career or high school? Sorry.
Yeah. I think by sophomore year, I thought I had like a really good grip on like how to be a good student, and I came out of a public middle school, so freshman year I was kind of like juggling those balls, trying to figure out like how much work I should put in and stuff like that. But by sophomore year, I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on that. But then during sophomore year, I think it was like the second semester, like the wheels just started to fall off. I don't really know why, but like I think actually looking back on it now, if I'm being honest, it was a lot of procrastination and just thinking, being I guess like sophomore, thinking that you know everything and like you know what it takes to get good grades and being like, oh, like I got this, I can just wing it. And going through that part of sophomore year, just winging stuff didn't really work. And then I ended up getting like a lot of lower grades than I thought I was going to get. And so I thought, obviously, you can't just have success in your life to like go forward and mature. You need some failure to learn from that. And so just not being like a wasteful person who just like wastes time for the sake of wasting time and like for the sake of just saying like you didn't study for a test and then we're like, oh cool, I got good grades on it. Like no one thinks that's cute or like cool. Like when you're actually like trying to do something and like get into a good school or
Mm-hmm.
do something like productive with your life. So I think just getting rid of those like really immature concepts of like just like going out and like hanging out with friends or like watching YouTube or being on social media when you have a lot of stuff to do. That realizing that, you know, if you just like put down that device or like just set aside that thing for later when you've done your stuff, I think I'm gonna carry that with me for a while.
My final question for you is there are, well, I mean, I get maybe 30, 40 views on this video, but to those viewers, right? Some of them majority of them probably in high school right now. What is one piece of advice that, as a high school graduate who got into a very good school, what is a piece of advice that you would give to high schoolers, whether they be rising seniors, juniors, sophomores, or freshmen, just on anything?
I don't want to be that person who uses the cliche, but like I really believe that you can literally do anything you want. It's just a matter of how disciplined you are and how much you want that thing and how much work you're willing to put into it. Like going to like a really good school or doing something in your life that you really want to do, it doesn't actually at all depend on like your intelligence quotient or like how much money your family has. Like obviously those things help, but because there's so much opportunity like in life, you can literally do anything you want. And so I would say like high school, there's definitely a ton of immaturity. People are trying to derail you like every 5 seconds and do stuff like that. So fun is like great to have, and you definitely want a healthy social life, but you don't want it to be a destructive social life that eats at the other parts of your life that are really going to help you in the long term. So I would say whether it's a career goal or just getting a certain grade on a test or an assignment or having a certain grade by the end of the year or something like that, being in like an honor society or something like that, just delineate your goals really clearly and stay focused on them. Maintain balance in your life, but definitely just keep your eye on the ball and know that there's an end goal and you want to achieve that. And don't let destructive things in your life stop you from achieving that.
Well, I just want to thank you again for coming on. Appreciate your time. Congratulate you again on graduating, and even more so on getting into Dartmouth. I think just from this conversation, I learned a lot about you, a lot about your work ethic, and just your motivation to do the things that you want to do. And I think this This was super educational just for me and hopefully for the people watching that, you know, if you push hard, then good things will happen.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your FES career. Definitely goes by super fast. So I would say just take advantage of all the opportunities you can. Have fun.
Yeah.
It'll take you to
All right. Thank you, man. Have a good one.
later.